So, welcome.
And then they double
I
file.
see some familiar faces that have been here before. How many made all four? Nice. Jordan, you lied. You didn't. You only made three.
I did what?
You only made three of the four.
Oh yeah, I only made 3 of them.
Trying to sneak that fourth one in back there. First one. Only 2? 3? 4? Nice. All right. A few housekeeping items. The restrooms out the door to the right. No minutes. Most doors are locked. And you have to have one of these. If for some reason you get through there, you might not get back up. So try not to go through any locked doors. Yep, just the exits over here. Jordan asked me to talk about the Initiators Fellowship. If you are an entrepreneur with a social enterprise idea, they are having, is it a contest?
Having some fellowships from the Initiative Foundation.
Okay, fellowships from the Initiative Foundation. I printed off about 5 copies. If there's more needed, let me know. I can quick whip some up. I'll set these up here if I get them at the end. We are going to dive right in. First of all, we have the movie show slide scrolling screen here. And Doyle's here today from neighborhood. I want to say Northline. I'm from Superior, so it's Northline up there. But Neighborhood National Bank, he graciously supplied the refreshments again this evening. So thank you, Doyle. I heat him up, or I got to fill his pockets, and he gets to take it all home. You're a good cook, Doyle. So without further ado. We've talked about this at least 3 of the 4 meetings about having somebody talk about patents and intellectual property, and we have Mr. Will Schultz with us today. Will counsels clients on internet law related to counterfeiting, trademarks, social media, and domain name issues. Will works with innovators, product developers, marketers, and finance teams of his clients to create a web of IP protection. He developed integrated IP brand protection, a business approach that joins trademark, copyright, and patent rights to create a solution to infringement issues on marketplaces such as Alibaba, Amazon, and eBay. Using his background in web development, online business, and as an entrepreneur, he provides a business-focused plan to achieve his clients' goals. Will was selected for the Minnesota Rising Stars from 2008 to 2013, and Minnesota Super Lawyers. Does that mean you're an attorney too, Will?
That is
Oh boy. Oh, we're sorry. 2014 to 2019 awards in recent years, and he was awarded the Client Choice Award for IT Internet in 2017 through 2019. That's a whole mouthful, Will.
Well, I appreciate you.
Are you going to come up and dummy it down for me?
I'm going to come up there, that's for sure.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure if I'm going to dummy anything down.
Okay. Well, take it away.
Thank you for that introduction. I first have to say I love this stuff, and I am an attorney. I work at Merchant and Gould. I started off being a trademark prosecuting attorney, which means that I obtained brands and trademarks from my clients. I then transitioned in and did brand protection or trademark protection, which means I got to sue people based on the use of the trademarks that someone else was using. I had software in my background, and the firm needed somebody to litigate software patents, so I did an entire 180, and I stopped doing trademarks, and then I did patent law for a while in the courts. And then I realized my true love is the internet. And I owned multiple businesses while I was in college and law school related to the internet. And I said, you know what? I want to start doing internet law. And that was just in the time when people were jumping online. And Google AdWords were out there, and eBay was out there, and Amazon Marketplace was out there. And I loved it. So what I do now is I work with my clients, and I try to figure out, okay, what is the product that you have, or the service that you have? And how do you plan on selling it? If you're going to sell it online, if you're going to sell it into a marketplace, what are the potential ways that we can protect that so third parties can't come in and steal your rights? So you can continue selling your product on the online marketplace and in retail stores without having somebody coming in there and cutting into any margins. So we look at that from the very beginning, and I call it the hairball effect. Okay, and what that means is there's a bunch of different types of intellectual property that I'll talk about today. And trademarks, copyrights, trade secrets, patents, and design patents. And what we do is, rather than having a single intellectual property protection, which I consider the one strand of hair, I try to look at what are you going to do with your product or service. And then we weave all these different types of hair together, and it creates this hairball. It's really hard to get apart. And when you do that, all of a sudden, you're protecting yourself from the third-party infringers who want to come in and take your research, take your development, and essentially just create the same thing you've been doing and get around it. So that's kind of a little background on what I do. What you have in front of you, this workbook that you got, is essentially a condensed version of a class that I taught at the University of St. Thomas. It's a year-long or a semester-long class related to entrepreneurship with a focus on intellectual property law. So the first couple pages relate to entrepreneurship and just the mindset of being an entrepreneur. Obviously, this is way too long in connection with a 20-minute session here. So I've selected a couple pages that I want to go through with you. And what I'm going to do is I've got some props over here that we'll use in order to go through this process. First thing I'd like you to do is just turn to that first page there. Page numbers are on the bottom right. And I think it's really important to have kind of this entrepreneurial mindset. Okay, what is it? There's a definition of mindset, and that's the established set of attitudes held by someone. But I really think that entrepreneurial mindset is the set of attitudes that can change from time to time by someone to make a change. And some of the terms that I have here are what I consider to be entrepreneurial mindset terms. I've got a picture of my son in the bottom right there, and it's just that grit on his face that says, I am going to get this done. And that's the kind of thing that an entrepreneur is going to do. So, let's do our first exercise. Does everybody have a pen? Okay, let's turn to page 4. Now, entrepreneurial mindset, essentially what that means is that you identify what a problem is. You figure out who the market is for that particular issue, and then you come up with a solution for it. So using that mindset, I want you to think about this laundry basket, okay? And I have a small apartment that I live in. It has a small laundry room, and every time I don't have space to put this laundry basket, I want to take 1 minute, and I want you to write down some ideas on how you'd solve the problem that I have with respect to my laundry basket. How can I solve the problem of having space issues with this laundry basket? What is a product? What is an idea that you can come up with related to that problem? All right, maybe a little shorter than a minute. Any ideas? What are some ideas?
Collapsible one.
A collapsible one. Okay, have you seen that before? All right, what else? Hanging laundry basket, okay? Anything else?
Stackable, smaller one.
Stackable, smaller one, okay?
Taller barrel.
So they fit together? Okay.
Use a paper grocery bag.
Paper grocery bag, okay, you need something different, okay? What's that? Foldable, okay?
Move the laundry room.
Move the laundry room. That's a great one. I've done this exercise multiple times. And what's interesting is that I always come up, and someone always talks about this. And this is exactly what you talked about, which is the collapsible laundry basket. But what you may not know is that This laundry basket is subject to a utility patent. So someone did come up with this idea and got a patent on this particular design. So that's the kind of thing that we're talking about here today. And that is protecting intellectual property rights. And the fact is that this laundry basket has probably been around for a long period of time, right? It's a standard laundry basket. Despite that, somebody came up with an idea and obtained a patent on an improvement of a product. And a lot of times people don't think about the fact that you can obtain a patent on an improvement of a product. But this is an example of just that. All right, so if we could turn to page 7, let's just do a quick overview of intellectual property rights. So intellectual property, you think about property, and you think about a piece of real estate, right? Well, intellectual property is very similar to that, except it's creations of the mind. And it's your right to own, or the property that belongs to you, of these creations of the mind. If you turn to the next page, then these are the types of intellectual property that we have. Trademarks and service marks, they're going to be the things that distinguish your products from those of others. The brand names, right? There's copyrights. Now those protect original expression or works of art. That would be a song. That would be a painting. That would be a video that you created. Anything that's in a tangible expression. Utility patents are essentially things that protect functional ideas, like this. It's a collapsible laundry basket. Design patents protect the ornamental features of a product, so the look and feel. I see you have Coca-Cola here. If you were taking that Coca-Cola bottle, for example, when it was first came out, that could be a design patent because it's the overall look and feel. And then the final thing is trade secrets. And those are secrets, in other words, things that you keep silent within your business that have an economic value. And those are those web of the hairball of rights, if you take all of those into consideration. Go to the next page then. This is just an example of Coca-Cola. And all of the rights that I described on the previous page are actually displayed on this single page here. Now, if we go through them, because I'm just trying to get an overview here with respect to these intellectual property rights. Now, on the top picture there, what are the intellectual property rights that are there?
There's a trademark.
There's a trademark. On what?
Well, the Coca-Cola is a trademark.
Okay.
Right.
The term Coca-Cola is a trademark.
Term.
What else is a trademark?
The same
The color. The color is a trademark. What else is a trademark?
Logo?
The logo is a trademark. So there's a lot of different things there. Remember, a trademark is anything that signifies the source of a product. So if every time you walk into a store and you see this particular color red, and it identifies with Coca-Cola when you see this on a product, that's a trademark. Every time that you see Coca-Cola, you know that it's coming from a single company. That's a trademark. Okay, what else? What other intellectual property is associated with that top picture?
Product design, the bottle.
Product design. Okay, so there it could be the fact that you have the product design could be subject to a design patent because it's the ornamental features of the bottle. And a lot of times I've done several design patents in connection with bottle shapes. So for example, shampoos, bottles that you see in the stores for different products. We do design patents on those. And then that's the Coca-Cola bottle is an iconic bottle, right? So that actually can function as a trade dress as well. It's called the configuration of the product design. And if the consumers have come to understand that to mean one source, you can have that as a trademark. And you can prevent, the importance here is you can prevent anyone else from using that particular product configuration. This also is copyright because it's the particular design and layout of how you put that advertisement together. This is an advertisement. So you have a lot of different intellectual property in that top package alone. In addition, the bottle design actually has some utility patents in terms of how the cap screws on to the bottle and those types of things. Then you look here, the next product down, you can see the layout that's there, which is subject to a copyright as well. The freestyle machine there is subject to a lot of different patents, actually. Internally and externally in terms of what it looks like as well as how it functions on the inside. And then the bottom advertisement here, you can see the iconic Coca-Cola bottle that's being held in front of the world there, which is fully known as to the world as Coca-Cola.
And
So that's just an overview of some intellectual property.
And
Yeah.
wouldn't the content be trade secret? The contents, the actual
Oh,
content?
there you go, you got it, yes. Actually, I used to have a picture at the bottom of here that showed the Coca-Cola trade secret, but then I moved it to the back with trade secrets. So you can look in the back and actually see it there. But you're absolutely right, it's trade secrets that's involved there as well because of the Coca-Cola secret. Another one of the famous trade secrets that's in the world is the formula for the KFC chicken. So those are some major focus on the trade secrets with respect to those brands. Okay? And by the way, if you've got questions as we go along, please let me know. Okay? Let's move on to our next example here. And what I'm going to do is have you move to page 11. What I'd like to do here is, where we started here was at the beginning and had a problem, right? What I'd like to do now is actually think about a product that exists and think about in what ways to protect that product from the infringers that are in the marketplace. So, does anybody have a Furminator de-shedding tool at home?
I think I do.
Okay, got a couple people. All right, so the Furminator de-shedding tool is a product that is used to take the fur out off of animals, but not take out the actual live hair that's on the animals. Okay, and it's a very good seller on the internet. And I worked with the company in connection with the protecting these IP rights. And what we did is we did exactly what I'm talking about with the hairball effect, and we came up with a variety of different intellectual property protections for that. And I'm going to just pass these around here. But the first thing that we did is we came up and trademarked. We obtained a federal trademark registration of the term Furminator. So that's the name, that's that trademark, just like Coca-Cola. Okay? We pass that around. We just pass it around. The next thing that we did was we trademarked the paw print, because that paw print is used on every single Furminator product. Okay, and this is really important down the road, so I'm going to hand that one up to you as well. The next thing that we did is we took a look at the product packaging and said, you know what, that could be subject to what? Copyright, right? So we went out and we obtained a copyright registration for the product design, or the packaging. Okay, and then we thought, you know what, we better make sure that we work on the functionality associated with this product. So then we went out and obtained a utility patent. So now we can prevent anybody from using the functionality of having a handle, having this edge that you go backwards and you take the fur off of an animal without taking off the good fur. So that's what this utility patent covers. Okay, so that's where we work. We're out in the marketplace, and all of a sudden we start to see what's on page 11. And you can see here that there's 3 examples that are there. They look like they're actual Furminator de-shedding tools, right? Okay, because this is what a Furminator de-shedding tool looks like. It looks similar to that. I've got a question for you. Which of these two, and I'll pass these around, which of these two, which is real, which is fake?
The one on the left is real.
The one on the left is real? Which left?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
This one? You think this one's real?
Right hand.
Okay. And this one's fake? Why do you say so?
Because it has the Amazon sticker.
Okay. What else can you see that makes it look fake?
The paw print?
That Furminator,
Paw print.
What is the brand name on this one? On Ting Hao. Okay. So
They're identical.
are we pretty clear that this one might be the infringer?
It's the same manufacturer.
This one the infringer?
Yeah, I would think so.
Anyone? Well, for those of you who said that this Ting Hao product was an infringing product, you are correct. All right, that's an infringing product. It looks identical though, doesn't it?
Sure does.
So what intellectual property rights do we have to protect against this particular product? Can I use the Furminator mark?
No, you can't.
No, I can't, because they took the Furminator mark off and they replaced it with Ting Hao. So if I only had that trademark protection, I wouldn't be able to take this product down. Now, can I protect against the paw print? Yeah, they used the paw print because they did an exact copy of it, and we caught them that way because they're using the paw print and we have it as a registered trademark. If you use this as a registered trademark, that's called counterfeit. And not only can I get civil damages from you, I can also bring you over to the FBI and you can get criminally prosecuted for this counterfeit product.
And the package.
Other countries? So in other countries, we can have intellectual property rights in other countries as well. So the trademarks that we have, they can be internationally protected. Copyrights, if we have it in the United States, there's a treaty that essentially protects it worldwide. Patents you have to apply for in each individual country that you want to enforce. In the United States, we can use the Customs Service to essentially prevent this type of product from coming into the United States by submitting a takedown request with Customs. So there are ways to prevent this from coming into the United States. Okay, so. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it would be. Yeah. So this is also a utility patent. Absolutely. Okay. So it would also be a design patent, and there is a design patent on this as well. Now, did everybody think that this one was legitimate? It's not. This is a counterfeit as well.
Oh, jeez.
So this product looks identical almost to the actual Furminator product that you can buy in stores, but it is not real. And you have to be very careful with these kind of things because this is what major companies are facing on a daily basis, is products that look almost identical.
Wow.
And they're actually not.
And how do you know it's fake?
Well, that's the thing that we do when we're designing and developing new products, is we actually put certain tells in the products themselves that only we know about. They're called trade secrets. So then when a product is on the marketplace, we can take a look at it and say, I know exactly if that's real or fake because the person who's counterfeiting it didn't put the tell in it. Okay? Now the only problem would be is if the manufacturing company was, producing out the back door. But then we have other ways to do that as well. So,
Was that the case with these, or was it a true counterfeit?
No, this was a true counterfeiter. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and by the way, this particular product was subject to I think it was about a $400,000 verdict in district court in Wisconsin based on this counterfeit. That also involved copywriting as well.
So that 400,000 was against the Chinese company?
It was actually not. It was actually against a company that was local in the United States.
Distributor?
Yeah.
But how enforceable is that?
Distributor.
Well, that's a really good question. There's different levels of enforcement that is important. A lot of companies that I represent simply want the products off of the marketplace. And the reason for that is because it hurts their goodwill. If a counterfeit is out on the marketplace and your customer purchases that product, all of a sudden they think, this is a crappy product. I'm not going to buy from them again. So just getting them off of the marketplace is important. And the injunction that we got in that case, we're able to bring that into an online marketplace like Amazon, eBay, or other places and get those products taken off the marketplace. From a damages recovery standpoint, though, generally in these situations, what we'll do is two things. One, we'll get a stop on any payment that those online marketplaces have. So any money that the online marketplace has in that particular seller's account, we'll freeze it ahead of time. And then we'll obtain that money after we get the judgment. Or we'll send it off into collections, and the collections agency will go and they'll find whatever assets there are for this particular person. There's one entity that's in, one person who's down in North Carolina who's currently serving prison time, who we're working with the government to get the money, essentially, because there was so much money stolen from the trial. So that's the kind of recovery that we need to do.
Is that usually from the distributors and sellers, or I mean, if it's made in China, you're not freezing their account, it's a manufacturer over there.
No, you're correct, and it's a different situation when you're over in China in terms of what you want to do from a protection standpoint.
Yeah, that's a whole other world.
Really in China what it is it's trying to maintain and keep them down as much as you can because you don't want them filtering throughout the rest of the world. We do a lot of raids though, and work with local counsel in China. We obtain patents in China that protect those rights, and then we're able to enforce them in China. And $5,000 here to do a raid, $5,000 there, but you get a lot of these products taken down. So, second quiz. Which one's real? Which one's fake?
They're both fake.
Both fake?
Two different ones.
Oh, yeah.
This is different.
Yeah.
One on that side's real.
This one's real?
Yeah.
Okay, why?
I just took a stab at
Mark!
If you go to the back,
This one's real?
It's got a legit, oh no.
Okay, does this one has a seal?
if you turn it to the back, you got more instructions on the one on that side. That's
Okay.
what I figured.
So you said this one was real?
Yeah, I'm
You're
guessing
correct.
they're both fake.
You're correct.
I can spot
So,
That's called a double lock.
this one has a bunch of different instructions. This is actually not a United States product. This is a product that's sold in Europe. So if it was sold into the United States, it would be considered a gray market good, because it's actually designed for products that are sold over in Europe. This one is also real. And this is actually the United States version that is sold and was actually taken from the store, the company store. So they're both real.
He's got four.
What I wanted to do there is just show you just how similar these things are, and just the level of protection that you have. So this is the design patent that we use in connection with the enforcement of that tool. So this is one of many that we have, depending on the size and the shape of the tools. And then you see that these products have this this fur ejector mechanism. Well, that's actually subject to another utility patent. So it protects that particular design. So if someone comes out in the marketplace and has no ejector, we can enforce against that with that first patent. But if they come out with the ejector and the product doesn't look the same, but still has the functionality to go after with the utility patent. Okay? So that's that web of protection that I was talking about, and how different ways to take these products down. If you look at page 11, you can see that one of these products, the Furminator, we can use the trademark to take it down. The one that says pet comb, I can't use the trademark Furminator, but I can use the paw print, I can use the design patent, I can use both of the utility patents. And this last one, the same thing with that. I can use all those different things to get these taken down. And we have established relationships with these online marketplaces where we have an account, where we just click it and submit a takedown request, and boom, it's gone. Okay? All right.
So the question is, as an investor, we struggle with is, how much is spent on this on the front end?
That's a good question.
Because you never, like you were lucky to get damages in this one deal, but I get the validity and the need to take down copies and counterfeits and so forth, but to protect some or to get all this stuff done by merchant gold is extremely expensive. So what is a full suite of, what did this cost to fully protect?
Yeah, I think one of the things to keep in mind is the length of time on when all this intellectual property was secured.
Yeah.
So it's over a period of time. It's multiple developments that happen with respect to this.
Sure.
But just in general, the trade secrets is going to cost you nothing, okay? Because it's all internal, and all you need to do is have protections to keep it secret, okay? Copyright, a copyright filing fee with the United States government is about $45. If you want to file for photographs, it's going to cost you about $55 per 750 photographs if you file it all at the same time, same author. Okay, that's the governmental filing fees associated with filing a copyright. So this product packaging and the protection, super inexpensive in order to get a significant protection on this particular product. Why is that important? The copyright is the most effective way to get a product taken down on an online marketplace. The reason for that, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. If the online marketplace like Amazon does not take the product down, Amazon's liable. So that's why the copyright protection is so important. A trademark, generally the filing fee is about $325 with the United States government. And a patent, the filing fee is around $1,000 to get it filed. Now there's also costs associated with the attorney's fees in doing that. Generally, we'll estimate that a mechanical type invention is going to cost about $8,000 to $10,000 to actually get a filing on file. But there's going to be some additional costs associated with getting it patented all the way through to a grant. The trademark is generally going to cost $1,000 to $2,000 to get it all the way through. So you're talking about what is important from the first step. Well, the first thing is that if you release your invention, or you talk about your invention, or you sell your invention, you have in the United States essentially a ticking time bomb for your protection. It's 1 year from the time that you first let it out to the public before you have to file the patent application. In the United States, you get a grace period, that 1 year. In the world, you don't. So you actually have to maintain it as secret until you have filed the patent application, and then you get it out there. Okay? So the question related to the costs and what you do, this is an established company, right?
Right.
Okay. My next example is going to be not an established
Well,
company.
but, okay, so you didn't quite answer the question.
Okay.
So the cost, like a total cost, like if somebody had a widget and wanted to come to you and protect it in every possible way with a utility patent, trademark, and all that kind of stuff, sure, the filing fees aren't that expensive, but the attorney's time is very expensive. So what would be a budget that an entrepreneur should really have to fully get everything like this, so that if they had a situation like on Amazon where they need to do a takedown,
Yeah.
what should they budget for that?
Well, I think for the soft IP, which considers the trade secrets, the copyright, and the trademark, with respect to that, you're talking about $4,000 or less, and that's all in with respect to that. And you're going to get the trademark protection on file, including all the fees, including all the government costs. And it could be less, depending on how, if you come up with a unique trademark, it's going to sail through. If you're coming up with a term that's more descriptive, that needs a little bit more work to get through the trademark office, you're going to spend more money on it. In connection with the actual patent and design patent,
But just give me a ballpark on like the full cost, just all in, what should the budget be, the one number? Is it 25K, 50K, 100K?
first of all, it's completely dependent on your product.
No, I
25,000 is probably a ballpark.
I get that. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to understand, because either we are entrepreneurs or we're working with entrepreneurs, and
Yep.
we need to be able to tell them in a second what they need to think about to budget for something like this, so they
Yeah.
can be prepared to take on.
If you're going to get a utility patent, you're going to be budgeting in the $20,000 range or more. You will, because that's what it costs to actually get a good patent. You can go to a low-priced law firm or a patenting company and get a certificate that says patent. Good luck enforcing it. So you actually have to go with someone who actually knows what they're doing, because you get what you pay for. So yeah, you're going to need to spend some money. The question really was, do you spend the money on the intellectual property, or do you spend the money on marketing and getting out there? You have to actually think about both of those things. And what I talk to my clients about is actually working with the marketing, working with the sales, working with the finance. You have to integrate this intellectual property, because if you don't have the intellectual property, somebody can steal your stuff right away. So if you never get out in the marketplace, your intellectual property is worthless. So it's a good balance. The one requirement on a utility patent is if your product is out in the marketplace, you lose all rights to ever get it. Those other intellectual property protections, trademarks, the fact that you simply use it, you have common law protection. Copyrights, if you use it, you have protection. So those are low budget ways of protecting your product. The utility patent and the design patent, the minute it's out, you lose rights. So that's where the focus should be. You know what? I see that my time is pretty much gone.
Take what you need. Keep
Okay.
going, take what you need. We want you to keep going.
I had one more example that I wanted to go through with you. But before I do that, if you could turn to page 21. I just needed to do this real quick pop quiz with you. And the question is, when is it okay to use cartoon material you found on the internet in a company newsletter?
It's always okay.
It's always allowed? Okay, so I've got A down here, anytime, because the internet was created to promote the free flow of information.
Because you're not making money from it. That's number two.
Number two is when it's used for internal purposes only and not publicly displayed. C is whenever 2 or more of my fellow employees think it's funny. Number D is when it's used for non-commercial purposes and proper attribution is given to the author.
D. It's gotta be D.
How many of you say D?
If anything, it's gotta be D.
Okay,
We're wrong.
you're wrong.
Okay, I knew it, I
The
was.
correct answer was over here, and the correct answer was none. Okay? And the reason is actually in the question itself. The question says, is it okay to use in a company newsletter, which presumes it's being used for commercial purposes,
that's true.
which is taking you out of the fair use right that you could potentially have and use this from a fair use perspective, okay? And that's the reason why you generally have to license the rights before you use them in a commercial setting. Yes?
So I've heard that you can use some items for educational purposes.
Are you talking educational purposes
Like at a
in your
school.
business
Nope.
or in school?
In school.
Okay, that is where you can potentially use them, unless the fact is that the products themselves were designed for being used in school.
Right.
And then there's the problem.
Okay.
In reality, fair use under copyright law is a defense, okay? You're found to infringe. You have to then rely on the fair use defense to get out of infringement. So always think about that. The minute that a product like this diagram, this cartoon, is placed in a tangible medium, whether that's a printed page or the internet, that author has rights. By the way, this is licensed. You can see the license rights on the back of this work.
You have rights to use this, did you say?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
So the last thing that I wanted to go through is kind of we talked about a new idea like this. We talked about an established company and what the bigger budget can do in connection with this. Now I want to talk about a smaller entity and what to do when you come up with a single idea and you have zero budget, okay? And this idea actually comes from my son. My 11-year-old son, when he came up with the idea, he's now 12. He's a downhill skier. He's a racer. And the thing with downhill ski racing is that he always wanted to have as little fabric on his hands so he could really feel the ski, the pole itself when he's going down, okay? So the problem with that was that he wouldn't use hot hands or anything like that in his gloves. But he always got his hand freezing cold when he was on the ski lift and he had his ski poles like this, and his hands are on this cold metal. And we were going up the lift. It was February 12th of last year. I remember that. And he's like, "Dad, I have an idea." Like, okay, what is it? Well, I think that I can come up with a heat rack that can go on the ski pole itself. It can be removable, so I can use it when it's on the way up, and then I can take it off and do my ski race. I'm like, actually, that's a pretty good idea. So what we did is then we started working with, okay, what do we have? We have some knowledge of how to put these things together. We know people who are manufacturing people, and then we also have the fact that I do intellectual property law. And so what we decided to do was come up with a paper product, which is this, which is a very crude prototype of what a ski wrap would actually look like. Okay? And this would wrap around the ski pole, and this is the computer brain that controls the heating mechanism, and this button here is the switch that turns it on and off. Okay? And then we decided, you know what, it's time for us to actually do some drawings for it. So we went and we had some mechanical drawings. These were $30 a drawing. Okay, so we actually made some drawings in connection with how this ski warming wrap would actually work. Okay? And then we went to some local ski teams. And we said, would you buy it? Would you want to use it? And to do that, we actually created a working prototype using this warmer that we acquired from China. Low budget, right? Okay, and then we were able to put this together, and we realized that this could actually work because the people who were skiing understood that they had this problem, that the hands never got cold going down the hill, the hands always got cold going up the hill. So now that they have this wrap that's there. Okay, so now we've got some, we've got a patent going, so we protected the general idea, and then we were able to go out and start to see manufacturers and see how it would actually be put together. And what we realized was it's a great idea, but it's way too much money to manufacture in order for the actual working version. So what we did is we went back and we redesigned the product and then went out again and we started working with it. And we have a new design that I'm not going to share with you. That's a whole lot better. And we have a patent pending on it, but I would lose some potential in foreign rights if I brought it up. The point there is it's an iterative process. And what we did is we first came up with this patent, and then what we did is we took the patent and then added to it, because that cost less money. At the same time, we came up with a brand name. We acquired the domain name. We did a filing in the United States Patent or Trademark Office to get a trademark on it to protect the name. We also created a very brief website, and we started thinking about logos and copywriting the logos. So in that short period of time, we were able to secure the patent rights, the trademark rights, some of the copyright rights in that particular product. It's not even on the marketplace yet. But the other thing that we did is we actually made some phone calls to businesses that would be potentially interested in the license rights of this. And that's where we're going right now. So hopefully next season you'll see that out there. But it really gets down to, if you've got an idea, there are ways to protect it. And these are just a real quick overview that you can use on all of these intellectual property rights to create this kind of hairball of intellectual property rights that you can use to protect your products. Yeah.
Are you familiar at all with the educational material on the internet that people created? How-to videos, maybe ones that are on YouTube or ones that are created through an online course creation and a whole education sort of website or something like that. Is all that protectable?
It is. Yeah. So if you're making a video, you have copyright rights in the video creation that you have because it's your expression of how to explain something. Okay, so the video itself will be protected by copyright. The thing that a lot of these online videos you have to remember is that there's also other people's rights that are associated with that, right? Because let's say that you're using a brand and all of a sudden the brand is in the video. There are some rights called nominative fair use in order to be able to portray what that product looks like. But there's a line that at some point is going to be crossed, that you're gaining rights off of somebody else's brand. But yeah, they can be protected. It's usually copyrights, but you're also, if you have a YouTube channel and you name it, there'd be a brand associated with it. So there's a variety of different ways to protect that. Okay. Yeah.
When you're doing a utility patent, and I think some people fear that somebody else has already thought of that. So what's the vetting process for a utility patent?
Sure. There's what I would consider two different types of searches. One I call a knockout search, and that is where we go onto either Google Patents or the United States Patent and Trademark Office website and just do searches. And what you do is there's some key codes that you can use on the trademark or the patent search site that have codes that are related to like the industry, and then you'd use keywords and do a search for those. The potential problem that you have when you do searches for them is that once you see it, then you have to disclose it. But in my mind, it's better to know about it ahead of time, because if you know about something that's out there, then you can design around it. I will tell you that I'm working with my daughter right now on another patented product, and we found some things that are related to what she's doing. And what that caused us to do is go back and actually redesign to get around those patents and create new things. And that's what the patent process is for, is that to actually come up with new things. So it actually prompted us to kind of design around the patents that are existing. But Google Patents is actually a great place to start to do that initial research. And then the second tier is called a full search. And what that is it's a vendor that you would hire to go out and do one of those searches. And what they'll do is they'll go into multiple databases, they'll go into public libraries, they'll go into search engines, they'll go into those, and then they'll pull back any of the patents or even public information that's out there that would potentially be blocking prior art to your invention. Anything else? Yeah.
I've heard some companies just leave things as patent pending versus actually trying to get a patent.
Sure.
Because then it's not fully disclosed, or?
Okay, and what you do, for example, this is patent pending. It has not received a patent, and I have multiple applications on file with respect to that. And what it enables me to do is actually list on any product that's being sold patent pending. And you're going to see that. This product actually has patent pending on it too, so they can list patent pending. The minute that you file a patent application, you can list patent pending. Why that's important is because it notifies your competitors that you have potential rights. It's 18 months from the date that you file the application before it becomes public. There are some options that you have to make it not public if you decide not to go forward with the patent application. So you can't do it forever, but you can, for those first few months, have a patent pending. Yep.
What's the registered, is that a trademark?
Circle R?
The Circle R.
That's a
correct?
registered trademark, yep.
That, yeah, so when we have that on that means we're telling everybody else.
That's right.
It's a registered trademark. Well, you don't have to put that R on there, right?
No, not in the United States. There are certain countries where you have to have it registered to use it as a trademark, and you have to use the Circle R.
Yeah.
And if you, in the United States, if you use the Circle R and you don't have a registration, that's trademark misuse.
So if you trademark it, the name, and you trademark it with the Circle R, now is that your trademark?
With the Circle R? No.
It's
No,
not?
No.
Okay.
It's not. No. It's without, and what you want to do is you want to file the specimen of use with the trademark office without the Circle R on it,
Right,
because that's
right,
not,
gotcha,
shouldn't be
yeah. 'Cause I know we took it off, and it
Yep.
was like, oh geez, did we do something wrong?
Yeah, no, you don't want to have that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You had some drawings made of the product, and you went to some manufacturers and stuff. Did you use non-disclosures, or?
Yes. Yes. Non-disclosure agreement, I have a standard one that I use for my clients that I tweaked a little bit because I wanted to make it just a little bit unique. But yes, that's what I did.
How do you, is there a company that you find that knows manufacturers that could produce it and point you in the right direction? Or is for me to find that manufacturer, set that really place now?
Say that one more time?
Like, let's say I have a design of that, and I don't want to manufacture it myself. I want to find somebody to manufacture it. Is there somebody you can go to that has a list of manufacturers that would maybe be interested in something like that?
There are probably, I mean, it's this internet search essentially for the list of manufacturers for that. Word of mouth, kind of talking to people. The actual fact that they're of a manufacturer is somewhat considered a trade secret for companies. They don't necessarily want to let their manufacturer out because they like using it. Really what it is for most of the time is word of mouth and trying to find a manufacturer that actually fits your needs. Whether it's in the United States and they can do prototyping, or whether they have a facility in China or some other foreign country that can do it from a lower price perspective. So, okay. Anything else? Awesome. Thanks for your time.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
I have another question. Are you available for hire?
I actually should have said this before. My business cards are over there on that table, and I also have three they're kind of promotional materials. They relate to what Merchant and Gould does. There's a one-sheeter. There's a brand protection that really talks about what we talked about. And there's actually a sheet on data security and data privacy, which is a big issue with a lot of companies today. So take a look at those, and then my contact information is on that card.
And Will, should we stick around for a while yet, if people have
Okay.
questions?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll still be here for a little bit. Entertain some questions.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, business success story.
How big of an idea it is.
We're going to have Linda Lau come up and talk, and I think it's in here, but in case it's not, I'm just going to say this now. She's been on the board of directors here at East Central Energy, and She is our, that's right,
Use your outside voice.
my kid voice.
Yeah, your coach voice.
Yeah,
Coach
oh,
Mark.
you don't have my voice. No, I make kids cry. I have, by the way, my own daughter. Linda is the current board chair for East Central Energy. We're very happy to have her here, and as she indicated at the top of the meeting, this is her fourth one. She's been to all four, and she sat in on some of the preliminary meetings that we had when we were doing back at the end, well, how do we make this thing work? So Linda Lytle is an accomplished businesswoman and entrepreneur, and after a successful corporate career, I'm not doing so hot, she became president of Raven Machine and Tool, a contract job shop she and her husband owned in Moore. During her time as president of Raven Machine, Linda joined a CEO peer group in the Twin Cities. The experience was invaluable. When they sold the company in 2002, Linda started Raven Performance Group and launched executive roundtables in central Minnesota. She is a seasoned board member, having served on Minnesota Technology, Enterprise Minnesota, Minnesota Quality Council, Mora, I'm not even going to try.
Yeah.
The ski thing. And she currently serves as board chair for East Central. And I can attest to the fact, because Linda occasionally sends out some really good stuff from the Raven Performance Group and the business consulting. I've been the recipient of a few of those things, and they're very good words of wisdom. So, Linda, the floor is yours. Thank you. Do you want to do things? I didn't just-
There's a clicker in that little leather pouch, or plastic, I shouldn't say leather, full leather pouch. Turn it on the side. You got it.
Forward,
And there's a laser too, so
yeah. Oh, really? Yeah.
careful with that laser.
Okay, well, this is really why we hold these things. You want to learn about the lessons that we've all learned in business so that you don't make the same mistakes yourself, right? Because I've made all of them. It's been interesting. All right, my background is corporate America, and I worked in big companies like 3M and FMC, and I'll tell you, it's an interesting experience. But along the way, and I drove down from Ogilvie to Minneapolis every day, twice a day. That's what I thought too. Yeah. And after about 5 or 6 years, a change in the market. I worked at FMC at the time, and they were going through RIFs, which are reduction in forces. My husband owned the machine shop. He and I had it 50-50. And when we started it, I said I was never working with my husband, ever. It would be death or divorce. And it nearly was a time or two, also.
Which one?
Both, a time or two. But about the time that they were having some reduction in forces in the corporations, Elmer had one customer who was 85% of our workload at Raven Machine and Tool. And so when they were busy, we were busy. When they weren't, we weren't. And so it was killing us, up and down, up and down. So I thought, well, I think I'd like to do sales, and I love business development. So I'll go and I'll temporarily work for him, and I'll go out on the road and I'll bring in some new business and, help his business, and then I'll quit and I'll move on to get a real job. So that's what happened. And I was pretty successful at bringing in sales. I brought in lots of new accounts, which is a good thing because Elmer fired our largest customer about 6 months into my gig. Talk about interesting. But at any rate, I brought in new customers, and after a while, what Elmer found is that he was doing everything he hated to do and nothing he loved to do. My husband is a machinist by trade. He likes creating things, he likes working with things, he likes building. And so when I came on board and brought in new customers, suddenly we had to hire new skills. You know, hiring someone who does the same thing day after day after day is pretty easy, but when you need adaptability and skill level, it's kind of hard. So he was hiring new employees, he was firing new employees, he was processing. We had lots of different jobs to prove out. And I was on the road every day having a ball. I was having fun. So one day Elmer came to me and said, I don't care what you do. You can sell the company, you can give it back to the bank, or you can run it, but I gotta get out of here. I quit. All right, so I thought about that, and I thought, well, shit, if he can run it, I can run it, right? Do I stupid? Just want to find out. So I did. Elmer left the company, went to our backyard, where he did the things that he liked to do. Raven Machine and Tools started in a farmer's machine shed in our backyard. And so he was then creating all kinds of new products and doing all kinds of things that he loved to do. Meanwhile, I was figuring out how to build teams and put people together. And it got to be pretty interesting. What I learned is that the further away you are from a job, the easier it looks. So here are some of my lessons about climbing the mountains. First of all, big company experience does not equate to entrepreneurial savvy. No way, no how. I have a degree in business and communications and marketing. I had finance, I took accounting. You know, I can do this job, right? Well, yeah. In theory. Pardon me? In theory. In theory, yeah. So I started digging in and looking at the jobs and looking at our profit margins, and about a month after Elmer left, I'm almost embarrassed to tell you this, but I will. I looked at, we had a big customer who did very unique work. And I went to our estimator and I said, God, Larry, you know, we're making 120% profit on this job. We gotta cut that out. That's not fair to the customer. What did I say? He looked at me like, are you nuts? But he never said no. And he never cut the price either, as I found out later. But I thought, you know, God, what do I know? I came from big companies, and that's the way I thought in the big company, that they're making money off me. So, embarrassing. Fake it till you make it. You're an expert when you act like it and you look like it. I knew when I went out on sales, when Elmer was still in the shop, I knew sort of how to read a blueprint. I mean, here's the outside diameter, right? It's this far. I knew enough about our basics of capabilities. I knew what size parts we had to make. I couldn't talk technical talk with the customers, but then they didn't expect that because I was a girl, you know. But I didn't try to snow them either. If I didn't know something, I'd tell them I didn't know it, but I would get the answer. But what I did is I walked in with the assumption that I was going to come out with a print. And pretty often I did. Now, was it a print we could manufacture in our plant? Probably not. Sometimes it wasn't. Sometimes it was round and we only did square parts, you know. But I got a print. So, fake it till you make it. When you're starting in business, you have to act like you're successful. You have to act like you know what you're doing. You have to play the part. What I also found out is that not everyone in the world is a perfect customer. And boy, I had a degree in marketing, right? I should know this stuff. But not everybody is a perfect customer. So I'd go out and I really had to hone in on what kind of customer buys the kind of parts that we actually make. We could make parts that fit into a 5-foot cube, and they were cast iron. And we could make parts that were this big. And so how do I sell that? So it was kind of interesting. Once I figured out our perfect customer and the demographics, then I kind of figured out the psychographics. Who do I get on with best? You know, not only where is the company located, because it costs money to ship cast iron across the country. You know, so my customer base was close, but, you know, I worked it out. Seth Godin, my favorite blogger, had a comment that he said in his blog a couple of weeks ago, and it said, why write books and hope that people will find you? Why not write books for the people who like you and follow you already? Figure out what those people like and give them more of it. Don't try to paper the world and have people find